رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه ثم أما بعد. So Imam Qudamah rahimahullah ta'ala said here in al-Umdat, that chapter Bab al-Sulh, the chapter on settlements, he said ومن أسقط بعض عينه أو وهب غريمه بعض العين التي له فيه جاز ما لم يجعل وفاء الباقي شرطا في الهبة والإبراء أو يمنعه حقه إلا بذلك أو يضع بعض المؤجل ليعجل له الباقي. So let's go back and so let's just read it in English first. It's permissible for someone who is owed money to cancel a portion of a debt or to donate to the opponent, meaning the one who owes him or her money, some of the property in his or her hand, provided that the creditor does not make payment of the rest a condition for the donation or cancellation. Likewise, neither party may deny the other party his or her rights in return. Also, the creditor may not cancel some of the delayed debt in return for the debtor paying the rest in advance. Okay, so the Sheikh said that it is always okay to reach a settlement and basically to give up some of your right to reach a settlement. To give up some of your right to reach a settlement. First of all, this is the chapter on what? Sulh. Sulh means what? Reconciliation, making peace between people, doing righteousness. العمل الصالح is what? Righteous deeds. إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات. You know, so sulh comes from righteousness, comes from salah, that which is righteous. And conciliation between people is righteousness. Conciliation between people is righteousness. Making peace between people is righteousness. So the concept of sulh is not limited to settlement over financial disputation. The concept of sulh is much larger than this, and that is why you will find that sulh is addressed in 3 different sections in fiqh. Sulh between the spouses, you know, that's a big one. Conciliation between spouses. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يريد إصلاح يوفق الله بينهما. If they want to reconcile between them, Allah will help them, will assist them to reconcile. That's basically the arbitrator from his side and her side. And if a woman fears the defiance or negligence or abandonment on the part of her husband, then there is no there is no harm in reconciliation. وَالصُّلْحُ خَيْرٌ. Allah says, and reconciliation is good. Reconciliation is good. And people are prone to miserliness. People are prone to miserliness. It's a reminder, because when you're about to do sulh, it is a reminder that you have to get rid of your miserliness, your shuh. You have to give up some of what you think is yours. You have to give up some of what you think is yours. Sulh is about compromise. It's about giving up, meeting your opponent in the middle, and giving up some of that which is yours. People who have no interest in giving up some of what is theirs will never reach compromise, will never reach settlement, will never have sulh. And we ought to basically overcome our miserliness, our shuh, if we are to reach any settlement or agreement or move beyond the disputation. So sulh is between the spouses, and you will find this in the family laws. Sulh is also between people that, individuals over money. Where the disputation is over money, and that is what we are talking about here in this chapter, because we are here in the section of what? Fiqh of financial transactions. And then it could be between individuals, but not over money. That is why, in the books of fiqh, you will find sometimes that they have ahkam al-jiwar under this chapter. Ahkam al-jiwar, basically neighborliness, the ahkam of neighborliness, rulings of being a good neighbor, or the ahkam of neighborliness, I guess. So because this is a sulh between individuals, like something happened, that we have a wall, a common between us, and then this part of the wall came down. Who fixes it? You want to basically build something on top of your floor and all obstruct the sun for me, things like that, and all of these things they address in ahkam al-jiwar, and they usually put them, not always, but they would put them under this chapter. And that is why, because sometimes it is harder for people to figure out where things are. Half of knowledge is basically figuring out where things are, where the information is, the needed information is. Because once you figure out where the needed information is, where trustworthy needed information is, then you have half of knowledge. But then, so your familiarity with the fiqh books, you go over them several times, different fiqh books and so on, will allow you to figure out where the stuff, where can I find the rulings of such and such. Nowadays you have Google, so here's the different story. But in the past it used to be important. That is why at one point, part of the evolution of fiqh or development of fiqh is that at one point the mashayikh started to write what? Mawsu'at. Mawsu'at. That is the plural of mawsu'a. And mawsu'a is encyclopedia. And encyclopedias will be alphabetically arranged. Alphabetically arranged. Therefore, if you're looking for ahkam al-jiwar, you look for jiwar, you look under jim, and then you could find where ahkam al-jiwar is. And, but that's still important. It's still an important topic. You really can't count on Google for everything. So it is still an important effort to get you to where you need to be, particularly if you're not that familiar. But scholars who have been familiar with these books, مظنة الأحكام, they know where the places where it is most likely to find those rulings. Okay, and then we have by itself in the section of the family. We have this type of individuals over money, not over money. Here focuses on sulh over money, but also in the fiqh books you may find how to conduct sulh or arbitration, reconciliation, mediation between people over other disputes that may arise between them. And certainly the arbitration is not that easy. It is not that simple, because you do need also to understand the fiqh. If there is a dispute between two partners in a business, you have to understand the fiqh of sharika, corporations in Islam. So it is not that easy. But there are certain principles that are overriding principles in sulh, and these are the ones that he will discuss here. This is not a substitute for, or this is not to say that this is all you need to know to conduct arbitration or mediation between the people, because if this is an arbitration, if this is a dispute that resulted from being partners in business, then you also need to understand the fiqh of sharika and wakala and agency and corporations and so on and so forth. And then that is sulh between fighting groups, whether they are sulh between Muslims and Muslims, or between Muslims and fight each other. Then you have the rulings of fighting against the rebels, and you have also Ahkam al-Jihad, the rulings of jihad, that is fighting between Muslims and non-Muslims, and the sulh, reconciliation, terms of reconciliation in these cases. So all this would be under the concept of sulh. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. What they talk about in this chapter would be 2 and 3 individuals over money and over other disputes. What the focus here in this particular book on is it's a small book, it's a small manual, and we're in the section of fiqh of financial transactions over financial dispute. I wanted to tell you about this so that the concept of sulh is not reduced in your minds to just sulh over, to reconciling between disputants for money, or people who have a financial dispute. Okay, so the Sheikh said that you could give up some of your, like if you are money, you could give up some of this money consideration. So the first dispute, financial dispute, here is when there is dayn. Dayn is not necessarily a result of qard, a result of loan. Dayn, which is the dayn means what? Debt. Debt is not always a result of a loan. Did we cover this? Yes. The result of any liability. You could hurt someone, and then that indemnity, compensation for the wound, you owe them that money. You could buy something and with deferred payments, and you owe the deferred payments. There's liability. You rented a place, not pay. You're liable for payment, etc. So liabilities in general, debt in general, that's what we're talking about. So the Sheikh here says that it is permissible for someone who owes money to cancel a portion of debt or to donate to the opponent who owes him or her money some of the property in his or her hand, provided that the creditor does not make payment of the rest for the donation or cancellation. So I owe you $10,000. I owe you $10,000. You tell me, pay me, okay. You tell me, okay, pay me $6,000. I'll waive $4,000. Pay me $6,000. You agree and you pay me, that is fine. But if I tell you I will only waive the 4,000 if you pay me the 6,000. If you pay me the 6,000, this is a dayn that is hal. This is a dayn that is already due. We will talk about the deferred debt later, but this is a dayn that is due. If you tell me, I will give you, if you drop 4,000, I will take 6,000. If I'm the creditor, I tell you, if you give me the 6,000 now, I will drop the 4,000, or I'll drop the 4,000 on condition that you give me the 6,000 now. That is not permissible in the Hanbali method. According to the view in the Hanbali method, you cannot make the waiving of the 4,000 contingent upon the immediate payment of the 6,000. The Shafi'i said you can, and that is the other report in the Hanbali method that you can, that you may make this a condition. So you can say, according to the Shafi'is, and that sort of the weaker report in the Hanbali madhab, you could say, I gave 4,000 on condition that you pay me the 6,000 now. Are you Shafi'i or Hanbali here? But even if you think it's allowable, there is still one report in the Hanbali madhab that allows the creditor disambiguation or the clarification or extension.
I was going to ask for the evidence. I was going to ask for the evidence.
Oh, you were going to ask for the evidence. That's extension. The evidence here is that this is my money. This is my money, and it is about making the contingent upon immediate payment, as if there is some form of muawada, there is some form of exchange. I drop this money, you pay this money now. That is what the Hanbalis do not allow in the authorized report. But the Shafi'i said, if it is my money and I will waive part of it, then I am entitled to making immediate payment of the rest a condition for my waiving part of the debt. There is no ayah or hadith that can be particularly cited in this regard. So now the Sheikh said, as long as you don't make it a condition, and then he said, أَوْ يَمْنَعْهُ حَقَّهُ إِلَّا بِذَلِكَ. Likewise, neither party may deny the other party his or her rights in return. His or her rights in return. You cannot say, I will acknowledge the debt if you are the debtor or not the creditor. You cannot say, I will acknowledge the debt of the $10,000 if you waive 4,000. Is that clear? I think that is clear. That is crookedness. You just, if you owe the $10,000, you cannot say, I will acknowledge the 10,000 if you waive 4,000. Okay. So the third one, he said, أو يضع بعض المؤجل ليعجل له الباقي. The creditor may not cancel some of the delayed debt in return for the rest in advance. In return for the debtor paying the rest in advance. So here you owe me $10,000, and the $10,000 will be due on April 2nd. We're in February, right? So I tell you, okay, pay me $8,000 now, and I will waive the $2,000. What do you think of this?
If it's not due yet. Is this money or is this service?
Whatever, it's anything. Money. Huh? You owe me $10,000. Yes, it is April 2nd. I want you now and I say, you now and say, pay me 8,000 now, I'll wait too. Pay me earlier, well, you know, take less.
He doesn't have it. He hasn't arranged it for you. You're like, that's a good deal? I'm not making the choice.
Saying, is it okay?
Okay, so it is not okay according to the form of that. I'm going to give you the but let's form that first, and we get to the steps. So the form of Dhahab said that it's not okay because it is a form of it is the reverse of riba. And answering the question before about the evidence, the hadith that is extremely important in this regard, that is cited, is the hadith of Amr ibn Auf, where the Prophet ﷺ said, let's get to this point here as well. الصلح جائز بين المسلمين الصلح جائز بين المسلمين إلا صلحا حرم حلالا أو حرم إلا صلحا حرم حلالا أو حراما مسلمون على فروضهم إلا فرضا حرم حلالا أو أحل حراما. So this is a cornerstone in the chapter. This hadith reported by Tirmidhi from Amr, and basically Tirmidhi. So sulh here means settlement. Settlements are permissible between the Muslims. Also permissible, because the Muslims here, kharaj is the usual thing that they're dealing with each other, but it's also permissible between Muslims and non-Muslims. Except for a settlement, makes haram that which is halal, makes halal that which is haram. And Muslims abide by their conditions, the clauses of their contracts, إلا شرطا, except for a condition or a clause, حرم حلالا, that makes halal which is haram, وحل حرام, makes halal which is haram. Okay, so they always say this makes halal haram. Always say this makes halal haram or makes haram halal. And the contenders saying that this is not halal haram. That's when they disagree over what is permissible as a settlement and not permissible as a settlement. They'll say that this is making halal haram or making haram halal. So always the first element to this. What? Huh? No, it's fine. It will make, if it makes people's lives easier, I could hold the mic. What the format that we said is that drop 2,000, drop 2,000 means you're doing the reverse of riba. And that is commodification of time. That is putting value on time. That's putting a price on time. And time does not have a price. So you cannot commodify time. Is that clear? Commodification of time. What is the idea of riba? Riba is to defer and increase. Defer and increase. Here it is advance and decrease. It is the opposite, but they're trying to get at the philosophical foundation of it. They say that the philosophical foundation of this is the same philosophical foundation of riba. Commodification of time. Putting value on time. Yes?
Doesn't Imam Ahmed consider every day basically like is pretty much due? There's no extension of time?
That is the dain that results from qard, from loan. We're talking about liabilities that are not resultant from loans. Yes, that is the dain that results from a qard, yes.
Sheikh, what if it came from the one who owes the money? Like it came from me, who I have to pay you. I said, look, I have $8,000 right now. So it didn't come from the debtor, but it came from the one who owes the money. Does it make a difference?
Well, if the one who's owed the money gave you the money, then you could do ibra. You could tell them, I drop the rest.
Also, you don't make a condition.
So the example you gave is that I have a payment due to you on the 1st of the month.
You have a payment due to me on April 2nd. You came now and gave me half of the money. It cannot be a condition. If you gave me half of the money, without making it a condition to drop the rest, or I make it a condition, if you give me half of the money, I can do ibra. Ibra is always fine. Ibra means that I drop my right, sort of absolve you of liability. I clear you of liability. Can I clear you of liability? If you owe something to me, I can always clear you of liability. But the idea here is that there should not be contingency here. There should. But so it depends on how they go about it. It depends on how they go about it. But you cannot make it a condition. But yes, so there is, Ibn Taymiyyah shows that it is okay. So Ibn Taymiyyah shows that it is okay to say da' wa ta'ajjal. And he cited, certain reports from the righteous predecessors in agreement with the concept of da' wa ta'ajjal. Da, drop, ta'ajjal, advance. This drop and advance. Drop some and advance the payment. But he did not make this up, and he does not make things up. This is a weaker position within the Shafi'is, a weaker position within the Shafi'i madhab and within the Hanbali madhab, and he chose it, even though it is not the authorized position in one of the four madhahib. At one point, the authorized position in the four madhahib, the authorized position, even if there is dissent within the madhahib, but the authorized position, the four madhahib, used to be a final say. And that is what he disagreed with. He said that there are positions within the madhahib that are stronger than the authorized positions. So he used to basically have his ikhtiyarat, his choices from the different madhahib, not limited to the authorized position within the madhahib. If there is a group of scholars from the madhab who had a different opinion, he would consider this to be a good enough precedent to support that position or to act on that position. what is the argument for the permissibility of this? We said the argument for the impermissibility of this is that it shares the same philosophical foundation with riba, which is the commodification of time. It's the reverse of riba, shares the same philosophical foundation of riba. But the argument for this is that this is a win-win situation. This is a win-win situation. This causes no harm to no one. This exploits no one. Riba is to an extent an exploitation of the need of the sort of of one of the two parties, and that is why it is forbidden. But when I owe you money, and then we agree that I will, you drop some and I advance some, then there is no harm here. There is only the benefit of ibra' al-zimma, to clear me of liability. And that is a burden. And if I advance, the payment, and you drop some of it, you got your money. I was cleared of liability. It is a win-win situation, and there is no harm. And they insisted that riba is about increase for deferment. It is not about decrease for advancing. Okay. Nowadays, most of the contemporary scholars in financial transactions, usually most also, how do I know that most? We lie all the time. But many, I can't say most, I can only say many. Because I don't have statistics. I did not count all of them. I did not bring them in one room. So anyway, but many of the contemporary scholars would approve da'wat ajal. They consider it to be permissible. They consider da'wat ajal to be permissible because it facilitates matters, clears people of liability, and also it's advantageous to the creditor who will get their money quicker to invest it, to use it. All right. Then the Sheikh said, ويجوز اقتضاء الذهب عن الورق والورق عن الذهب إذا أخذها بسعر يومها وتقابض في المجلس. It is considered lawful to take gold in place of silver and vice versa, if one takes it according to its price on that particular day, and if the two parties finish the exchange in the same sitting. Now, I owe you $10,000. Waraq and dhahab, let us use, instead of waraq and dhahab, it's about the dinars and the dirhams. It's about the gold and the silver currencies. So, first, Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu went to the Prophet ﷺ and said to him, we sell camels in al-Baqiyah. And we sell, we charge dinars and accept dirhams, and sometimes we charge dirhams and accept dinars. And the Prophet ﷺ said to him, لا بأس أن تأخذها بسعر يومها ما لم تتفرقا وبينكما شيء. Here. لا بأس أن تأخذها بسعر يومها ما لم تتفرقا وبينكما شيء. لا بأس, there is no harm. أن تأخذها, to take it, to accept the other currency, بسعر يومها, stake it, basically at the market value on the day, meaning on the day of payment, ما لم تتفرق, as long as you do not separate, وبينكما شيء, and there is what is it? How did I translate this?
Something's still outstanding. Something's still outstanding.
And something is still outstanding. Okay, and there is still something outstanding, and something is still outstanding. So what does that mean? Okay, so if I sell you a camel for 10 dinars, and then you bring me the money later, it's deferred. You bring me the money later, next week, next month, you just bring me the money. And then on the day you bring me the money, you have dirhams, you have silver currency, not gold currency. I sold you for 10 dinars. So what is happening here? What is happening is that we have a different transaction now, which is sarf. It's called currency exchange. And now that we have this different transaction, which is called sarf, then what we need to do is what? Let us say the 10 dinars on the day of sale, the 10 dinars on the day of sale were equal to 15 dirhams. The 10 dinars on the day of payment is equal to 20 dirhams. 10 dinars are not equal to 20 dirhams. 1 dinar is equal to 10 or 12, between 10 to 12 dirhams. 1 dinar is equal to somewhere between 10 and 12 dirhams. But I'm just like, whatever. So let us say that the 10 dinars were equal to 15 dirhams on the day of sale, equal to 20 dirhams on the day of payment. How are you going to change them? How are you going to get 10 or 15 or 20? 20. Good. That's the right answer. Because it's about the day of payment, not the day of sale. Do you remember in the chapter of qard, we went over something that was, but when it comes to qard, the Hanbalis make an exception that if the property that has been loaned, the value of the property fluctuates a lot, then you give them the value on the day of loan, not the day of payment. But if the value of the property loaned does not fluctuate a lot, then you give them the value of that property on the day of payment, not the day of loan. يوم القبض يوم القرض. The day of qard, loan, the day of qabd, payment. Generally speaking, if you want to remember something and you do not want to get confused, remember that it's about the day of payment. When you have liability and you don't have the same exact thing to return, you return the value of it on the day of payment, not the day of accruing the liability or incurring the liability. Okay, is that clear? Then the Prophet ﷺ said, as long as you do not separate and there is still something outstanding, meaning what? You don't come to me on that day and say, well, I owe you 10 dinars, I bought this camel, I owe you 10 dinars, and 10 dinars, I don't have dinars, I have dirhams. The 10 dinars is worth 15 dirhams, worth 20 dirhams, but I only have 17. I only have 17. Not allowable. Do you remember the chapter on riba? Do you remember what we said in the chapter of riba? If it is things that share the same illah of being usurious, the same effective cause of being usurious substances, we said gold, silver, and cash, they are in one category. Gold, silver, and cash in one category. Between gold, silver, and cash, any transaction, any exchange has to be what? Yadan biyad, hand to hand. Hand to hand. So if it is gold for gold, it has to be hand to hand, equal for equal. Yadan biyad, mithlan bimis. If it is gold for silver, silver for cash, cash for gold, it has to be what? Hand to hand, meaning an immediate transaction. You cannot defer part of it. You cannot pay 17 now and then 3 later. It has to be an immediate transaction. Nothing should be outstanding between you. Well, if you don't have the $17, come back tomorrow with the $20 or the 20, whatever, dirhams. Is that clear? Okay. So the payment is based on the market value on the day of payment. Because keep in mind that whenever you borrow anything, it is either mithli or qimi. Mithli or qimi. Do you remember these two terms? Mithl means like. Mithli means the exact like. It would mean here fungibles. Fungibles, things that are substitutable. Like 1 pound of wheat. This 1 pound of wheat is just like this 1 pound of wheat is just like this 1 pound of wheat. They are exact same thing. They are substitutable, fungibles. Non-fungibles, which are the qimi, they're non-fungibles. They are not the exact same. They're not the exact same. So you could say what? Like a camel is non-fungible. Every camel is different from a piece of furniture is not, or we're not talking about IKEA nowadays and stuff. But, in the past, there used to be things, everything is made, unique, different, not fungible. So that's the difference between fungibles and non-fungibles. The mithli, yurad bimithlihi. If your liability is mithli, you return the mithl, the exact thing. The qimi, you will return the value of the qimi, the non-fungibles. The mithli has to be returned the exact same thing, except if you don't have it. Then you return the value. And that is what the Prophet ﷺ was saying here. Well, if you don't have it, then you could return the value. But in this case, it's a new transaction. And the transaction here is, I owe you dinars, I don't have them, I'll give you dirhams. That is a currency exchange here happening today. Then all the rules of currency exchange will apply. It has to be hand to hand, it has to be an immediate transaction. And the exchange has to be based on the market value today, on the day of the currency exchange, not the market value. Because it would be unfair. If we base it on the market value of the day of sale, it would be unfair, because on the day of sale, I did not sell you that camel for 15 dirhams. I sold it to you for 10 dinars. You can't tell me, well, on the day of sale, 15 dirhams were equal to 10 dinars. I don't care. I sold you the camel for 10 dinars. I want my 10 dinars, or I want the value of my 10 dinars today. Okay. Then, usually you get in this mess all the time when you do, you're just like the weird transactions. And I do advise people to use wire transfer and not get into sticky situations from a legal perspective or from like some other perspective. But whenever you give someone, you give someone dollars here and you tell them, give my brother Egyptian pounds in Egypt. That particular transaction is a very sticky transaction because it's a currency exchange. It is a currency exchange, and currency exchange is a very stiff transaction that has to follow certain rules. What you can do is you make one your wakil, but if it is not your wakil, if it is acting in their own self-interest, not as your agent, they're acting in their own self-interest and they cannot be wakil, and this is really a currency exchange, then you have to follow the rules of currency exchange. If you want, so it has to be, what you can do is make it an immediate transaction on the phone with the people in Egypt, give the money now in dollars here, and on the phone with the people in Egypt, let your agent there give the money. You will be okay according to everybody. Within 2 days, within 2 to 3 days, you'll be okay according to the Malikis. But if you want to be okay according to everybody, make this an immediate transaction over the phone. You're on the phone here, hand to hand, but it is happening simultaneously in 2 different locations, so that you avoid all the stickiness of sarf, currency exchange. But if it is not the 2 people acting in their own self-interest, and one is simply an agent of someone else, then it is not a problem. It's not a problem. If I give you $10,000 and you're traveling to Egypt and I tell you, you are my agent, take this money, exchange it in Egypt and give it to my family. That is not a problem. You are my agent, you're acting, on my behalf. So I give you the money now, you'll give it whenever, whenever you get there. This is not a currency exchange, this is wakala or agency. Now, then the Sheikh said, ومن كان له على غيره دين لا يعلمه المدعى عليه فصالحه على شيء جاز. When someone becomes indebted to another and the defendant does not know or know of or remember it, they may strive to come to a settlement. They may seek a settlement. They can come to a settlement. They can come to a settlement. In other words, in other words, this is the other type of sulh. This is the other type of sulh. There are 2 different types of sulh. There is a sulh ala iqrar and a sulh ala inkar. Sulh ala iqrar, that is sulh with acknowledgement. Iqrar means acknowledgement. And then there is a sulh ala inkar, which means what? Sulh despite denial. Sulh despite negation or denial. Sulh despite negation or denial. Sulh ala iqrar is agreed on its permissibility between the madhahib. Sulh ala inkar, sulh despite settlements, despite denial, is okay according to the Hanafis, Malikis, and Hanbalis, not okay according to the Shafi'is. Because the Shafi'is say, well, if you are denying, then this sulh ahalla haraman or harrama halalan, then you can't get out of it is a dilemma, because, if you're denying, then this sulh to you makes halal that which is haram, or haram that which is halal. The 3 other madhahib said, no, it doesn't make halal that which is haram or haram that which is halal. It is basically clearing yourself of any liability. Even if you think that you're not liable, there is still self-interest here in being free of liability, protecting your reputation, protecting, avoiding contention, avoiding disputation, reaching a settlement. In this case, if someone claimed that you owe them $5,000 and you tell them, no, I don't owe you any money, but I'll give you 3. Just like that. You know, but don't try it with me. No, but if because here, if the idea here is the claimant does not have enough proof to take you to court, but the claimant to have some sort of like, there is some possibility, some plausibility, you know, that you actually owe them some money, and you want to clear yourself of liability or disputation, and just you do not want the headache, so you can deny.
So then people just come to you.
But the idea here is also the claimant will have to have some liability. There has to be some circumstances that would make the claim plausible. Otherwise, you can fight it and you can take them to court. But if there is, like, you know, so companies all the time do this. Companies all the time do this. They acknowledge fault. They don't acknowledge fault. They reach a settlement without acknowledgement of fault, so that they are not liable in criminal court, but, you know, so they settle the civil case out of court or in court, but they deny so that they are not taken to the criminal court. They deny any fault or any liability so that they are not taken to the criminal court. In this case scenario, this is sulh ala inkar. This is settlement despite denial. The company denied any wrongdoing. The hospital denied any wrongdoing. They still reached the settlement with the claimant because they do not want the headache, or they do not want their reputation to be ruined, or they do not want the bad PR. All of that. All of these are interests for individuals and for corporations and entities that would validate sulh ala inkar in the Hanafi, Maliki, and Hanbali madhabs. So the Sheikh says, when someone becomes indebted to another and the defendant does not know of it, they may come to a settlement. They may come to a settlement. So a settlement in this case would be permissible despite denial, which is sulh ala inkar. Now, does that mean that it is halal for the claimant, halal for you to claim that I owe you $5,000 without, without being true, without this being true? Certainly not. He says here, فَإِنْ كَانَ أَحَدُهُمَا يَعْلَمُ كَذِبَ نَفْسِهِ فَالصُّلْحُ بَاطِلٌ فِي حَقِّهِ. If one of them is intentionally lying or knows that he's lying, then the settlement is invalid for him or her. That settlement, and then this would be أكل مال الناس بالباطل لا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل. Don't devour your wealth among yourselves or between you بالباطل, unlawfully. So certainly that is haram. It is, the sulh here for the defendant who does not know of this claim or does not recognize or acknowledge this claim, it is basically to clear them of liability and to save them from disputation. Clear them of liability and save them from disputation. Now, why does he say if one of them is intentionally lying? Because you could be lying not intentionally. يَعْلَمُ كَذِبَ نَفْسِهِ. He knows that he's lying. Most of the time, and that is what people fail to understand, that is why there is so much disputation. Most of the time, the opponents are well-meaning. It is their misunderstanding. You have to understand that people have different levels of understanding. And their perspectives may vary and their understandings may vary. So the claimant may in fact believe deep in their heart that you owe them the $5,000 when you don't. You had been in partnership, you had this, that, they forgot, you paid, something happened. Something happened that resulted in their misunderstanding or their wahm, which is confusion. And in this case, if you reach a settlement, they will not be at fault before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because it was their misunderstanding, not misintent or not, intentional lying or fraud. So if no fraud is involved, no one is at fault, and the settlement would have basically ended the disputation, which is a desirable outcome. If some party knows that they are lying, then that party will not be acquitted before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then they will have earned an enormous sin and be responsible for it. Then the Sheikh said, وَمَنْ كَانَ لَهُ حَقٌّ عَلَى رَجُلٍ لَا يَعْلَمَانِ قَدْرَهُ فَاصْطَلَحَ عَلَيْهِ جَازٍ. If someone is owed something of unknown value by another person, they may strive to come to a settlement. Still, so we have, I know that you owe me money. I know that you owe me money. You know that you owe me money. We agree. But we can't really remember how much it is. It could have been $1,000 or $2,000. We can't really, both of us forget. Then we could agree on a settlement. Come up with an arbitrary number that we agree on, end the disputation. The outcome, the desirable outcome here is we recognize that Bab al-Sulh is to recognize our limitations as human beings, at our limitations in discerning, what the rights and obligations, discerning, our rights and obligations, and being accurate and precise about this. We have limitations as human beings. Therefore, to avoid disputation, let's recognize that we may have limitations and reach an arbitrary settlement to end the disputation. And that applies across the board. Certainly, sulh will never make halal what's haram. So there is no sulh that will make something like, if someone claims that, he's married to a woman, for instance, and then she denies, they cannot reach a settlement. It's like, because that was haram halal or halal haram. So you can't reach a settlement on this. قولوا قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. We'll have 5 minutes for people to leave, and then we'll have our Q&A session.